So welcome to the SPRK podcast. Today we're going to get to know all kinds of things about Kent Lewis.
Oh, it's about me today.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
So just for starters, because
that's great.
I won't even ask how we know each other because I'm sure it's going to come up at some point.
Yeah, that's great. Yes.
Or many. Yeah. Let's start with who are you, Kent Lewis? Give me your background. No, that's not. There's no innuendo there. That's just tell me who you are, Kent Lewis.
Oh, sure. Born and raised right here in Lexington, Kentucky. Graduated from Dunbar High School. Played in a golf scholarship at UK, then Morehead State. Graduated, went to work for a software company. Got to live overseas in Australia for a year, England for a year. Worked there through HP for 16 years. Then worked for a multitude of companies, met you at a former company, and then we kind of parted our ways and did our own thing. And then we found our way back right here at this podcast that I wasn't invited to, but yet I'm here.
But you're here.
But I'm talking about myself at the podcast that I wasn't invited to.
The use of Google Calendar is a discipline that we're all working on, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so back up. So you spent 16 years essentially inside different software companies. I mean, it was the evolution of one company, right?
Of course, yes.
So what was your role, or what were the roles that you had inside that company?
Oh, man. I started really as a pre-sales consultant, just traveling actually to Aflac headquarters in Columbus, Georgia. I was there for almost 2 years, flying back and forth every week, as a lot of travelers, are traveling every week.
This is how you know everybody at the ticket counter.
This is how you know everybody at the ticket counter still today at the airport.
Okay, that makes sense. All right,
this is how you know everybody at Hertz and everything else, right? So I traveled doing a pre-sales consultant. I then slowly moved into a pre-sales consultant, which, if anybody doesn't know the difference, where I'm working on after the deal was sold when I first started. So there was a pressure to have them get the software working, but at the same time, there was no pressure that they were going to lose them as a customer, right?
Yeah, the deal was already done.
Done. So then I moved to the front more into the before the sale. So I always
higher stakes.
Higher stakes. I like to use the term that I can never make the client say yes, because that's the salesman's guy's job. However, I can make them say no really fast if I did a bad job technically.
Gotcha.
So I did that and did that pre-sales consulting, and then I had a chance to live wherever I wanted to in the U.S. And a friend of mine, Jamie Harris, who I worked for before, he and Steve Whitman, who I just had dinner with, they came up and said, man, you should maybe look, I was looking Dallas. I was looking all kinds of places. Said, you should maybe look overseas because we're opening an office over there. And sure enough, man, in 6 months, I found myself helping an office in Sydney, Australia for a year. And then I was in London for almost a year after that helping. And I became more of the guy that was supporting not just our local U.S. deals, but international deals as well.
All of that was client facing, and you were supporting not only like U.S. deals, but clients who were overseas.
Yeah, of course. I was client facing all the way up until like my final couple of years, where I was more on the product management team, where I learned more about the development life cycle, dev process and Scrum and things like that.
Cool.
Where I was supporting a new SaaS product through HP at the time. But yeah, most of my role and my love is the client facing. So a lot of user conferences, spoke at a lot of user conferences, did a lot of keynote presentations, things like that.
So then you also have this interesting kind of woven in that client facing software dev support or sales support. You've got this like event kind of history. So did you get into that because you were speaking at some of the user conferences and then you found that really interesting? And because you've done a bunch of stuff with events here locally, well, more than locally too, but more on the like producer or the organizer side of things.
I guess what's interesting is like, there's those type of people that say, oh, we've got to go to another trade show. And I'm dreading to go to another trade show. I don't want to walk the floor and work the trade show, where I'm the complete opposite. And I was like, I can't wait to go, Like, I want to go to the trade shows. I enjoy going to trade shows. I enjoy meeting new people. I enjoy getting excited about a program or something that we're selling. I mean, I remember back in the day, the Extreme Software is where we were at. Like, we had the like top echelon of software. Like, we were the Extreme team. I've never felt that kind of connection for a long time. That we'd walk into a room and they'd be like, "Oh, there's the Extreme guys," and we'd be demoing for 8 straight hours. Like, and so it was amazing. But
just that much demand for the product.
That demand, and then like just enjoying the show and talking to everybody. And so I kind of had that whole event thing, and I just enjoyed putting on the event and seeing the cool things. And so that inspired me down the road to start. I started the TEDx Lex. One of the first to start a TED event, the TEDx event.
So essentially that's, I mean, for people who aren't familiar with the TED organization, TED it's almost like a franchise model of sorts. It's a little bit of a generalization.
TED. Okay. So, Jason, so there's a TED conference that everybody knew about, right? That was kind of like this conference you could go to. Jason Wishnow, who's a friend of mine, and his team, the video team, were solely responsible for moving TED to TED Online.
Okay.
When TED Online came around, it exploded.
Okay.
And then they created TED Active, which is an off-site, basically it's the main TED conference, but it's off-site more. So I went to that for 4 years, met some great friends there, and then came back and started a TEDx Lex event.
The opportunity to develop to create a TED branded, follow the TED playbook here in Lexington, and then your like proximity to the software community and all the startup energy that was going on around town made it kind of like a natural fit.
We brought in designers from Lego, and we had Twitter at the time, and guys that used to work for big ESPN and things like that came in. I had one person come from Australia. People come in from Texas, California, one that developed all the really nice blue lighting that you see. Billy Valentine's his name. He helped develop all the blue lighting that you see in the Delta airplanes that gives you that atmospheric lighting.
Oh, very cool.
They did a lot of testing for that. The X for TED stands for Independently Organized Event. So that means that you develop the TED brand, the letters, and you host it. We hosted at what was formerly, I guess, Manchester City Hall now, but it was formerly Buster's at the time when we did that event there, and then we did the next one at Kentucky Theater.
Cool.
It has been great. But that was a bunch of other events. We did a Pachacacha event, which we did a bunch of those. We did. We helped create with the Chamber of Commerce, the Intellects, Geeks Night Out Squad, and all that kind of thing that we did.
So the synergies all around, like startup energy, which obviously is a bunch of entrepreneurs, right?
Sure.
Some of those in software, some not. And then fusing that with events, and then your experience both presenting at some large events and then starting to organize and operate some more like regional events, but bringing in a lot of the network that you had from the big guys.
Yeah, of course. And, it's interesting. I talked to a guy today, just, a friend of mine that just left and started his new company, and he's a trade company. And he's like, man, I just never knew all the things I had to do, whether it's social media, whether it's the FEI number and all the tax and all the stuff you have to do to start a business. And it comes the same way as when events, and it makes you realize, like, I've never put on an event. I could put on an event, and then you go do it, and then you realize, hey, there's a lot, like the event we just did.
If it's done well, it seems really simple. It seems so easy, like, I could throw an event. But the reality is it's pretty complex. There are a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of runway to get just to the first day.
That's right. And there's a lot of things, and it's depending on the event that you put on. Are you put on a produced event that I just did last week?
Right.
In Florida, where we have 980 feet of LED wall
and a live stream
lighting,
and all that.
And live stream and Zoom going on the stage and doing all kinds of things. Do we do that? Or is it just a local startup event for a few hours, but you still have badges, you still have name, you still have registration, you still have cost, you still have money, you still have all those sponsors, things that you have to deal with, and it's a lot.
Okay, so let's that's a good dovetail. So we met each other at an AV integrator. I was doing designy stuff and sales stuff. You came in really to kind of fix some operational problems, and you ended up building essentially the ERM that ran the whole organization software wise. And then you came out on some of the projects I was doing in the themed attraction space, and I don't know, it worked. as somebody said before we started recording, we have like this odd chemistry that shouldn't work, but I guess it does. So that's how
I guess
met,
I try to
right?
bring some organization to Matt Cooper's life, if that's possible.
A framework to the chaos. Yeah.
Is that me, you know?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
We have now launched SPRK events.
We have.
I started an organization focused on lighting in the themed entertainment space. And then we had this idea about what would it look like to take some of that experience and then your really diverse experience on the event side of things, in the startup community, and fuse those two things together. So we have just launched SPRK events. So tell me a little bit about like how do you see SPRK events being different than, obviously there are a lot of people who do events, right? No,
Lots, yeah.
No question there. What do you think is different about the way you're approaching events, about the way that SPRK is looking at events? Kind of what do you think are market differentiators?
So it's a great question. So first off, I think that we traditionally, there's all types of events. Let me say that. Okay. There's brand new startup companies that want to do launch events. There's companies that are launching new products. They want to do a product launch. They want to do just a general meeting. They want to do a podcast. They want to do a big event at a hotel or maybe an empty outdoor space, or they want to do a networking event. Like there's a whole host of events, and each event has its own separate set of requirements and needs depending on the client. And that's the other thing. It depends on what the client needs. I can bring so many ideas to the table. I can go and consult ideas that we can do for them, but it doesn't mean they have to take them all.
So if I want to throw an event, whether it's internally facing to my organization or it's external, I may have some ideas about the goals that I want to accomplish, certain activities that I want to see happen during the event. So I can bring those to the table, and you're saying that there actually may be even better ideas or ways to iterate around some of those same ideas.
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, it depends on what the client's audience is. Is it internal? Is it external? Is it live? Is it a hybrid of that? What do we exactly look at when we get to the event? So I like to say, here's one of our things that we've really worked on is that when you go to an event, and you've been to, listen, everybody's been to sales kickoff events and user conferences.
Some better than others, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And at the end of the day, let's just say this. If you showed up at an event and you had a great time and you enjoyed being with all these people and hanging out, you're going to say it's a great event. Whether somebody's microphone fell off, whether it happened, whether screens went out, whether it's technical difficulties, and if you networked with somebody and met somebody that gave you a new client or a new job.
Yeah, I walk away thinking that was awesome.
Saying,
yeah.
I'm going to come to that event always.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, okay? But we always know, food and everything else and how the interactions happen and the networking events are an important part. However, in this age, I really do think that we constantly, the hotels and things that we go to, I constantly see the same setup every time.
Yeah, it's
the stage in the middle. It's the two screens on the side. It's the general session. Then we go to breakouts. It's
a lot of pipe and drape, right?
Yep. It's the same thing. The front of house is there, but it's not, it's just they're just putting on, we're going to play a video, we're going to do this. And so it's very, I guess, like cookie cutter almost in a way.
It's predictable, right? How many events have you been to?
But it's always the same. And I know you can doctor it up and you can do facades and you can do things that look really cool.
Uplighting only gets you so far, right?
Yeah. Right. And you can do, people make custom backgrounds and, the screens, and it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I think that's cool. And there's things that you can do with that. However, what we're really trying to do is that I want to take these corporate sales kickoffs, the corporate user conferences, something to another level where maybe it's not just, hey, we show up at the general session at 8:00 and then boom, we got a general session, then we hit breakouts in the afternoon. Maybe it's a general session for 2 hours and then you go to a big activity where it's just a break from all that, like you're cleaning your palette. Then you come back in for another meeting, but the room has changed. So now you're in a new immersive environment. And so think about this. When you go do a wine tasting, right? We're at a wine tasting and you drink a glass of wine. What do you do before you, even just a sip? What do you do before you get to the next glass of wine?
You cleanse your palate, or I guess if you're French, right, you spit the stuff out. But
or Or you take a glass of water.
Yeah.
All right, which cleans your palate so you can taste the next one.
It's the, as
So
we
think
both
about this.
love
Think
sushi,
about TED
it's the
in a way.
ginger in the sushi.
All right. If you look at the TED style a little bit, okay, their average time is like 18 minutes. No talk will ever be longer than 18 minutes. But when you sit down for 2 hours, they go 18, then they go 6, then they go 3, then they go to video, then back to 6, and then a video, and then to 18, and then a 3, and then a video. And it's like this, it's going all over. And so it takes the average time for you to be in a presentation to decide if you want to be involved or be into that or emotionally into that talk is about 21 minutes. And so that's why they kind of stop at 18. And so that's why that works.
So like 21 minutes is the point where I'm going to check out.
Yeah.
So if you can craft an event, or you craft the run of show, or the elements that happen in a day, or which room you're in, your physical location, if you keep it under that 21-minute mark, then you have a high probability you're retaining everybody's interest.
That goes against if you're going to do a panel or you're bringing somebody else up on during that
because
presentation or whatever.
there's some other things changing.
So there's things changing. But, the video, being able to leave the room and go into another room and have like a Lego building contest and then move back into that room, and then you break up your breakouts a little bit. And so the things that we're doing, the award shows, like, for example, what we just produced last week, people came in there and going, wow, I thought only like really, really, really big companies do this kind of event.
And this was, in terms of number of attendees in person, what? Couple hundred? Yeah.
300.
So not a huge, a decent size.
Yeah.
But not a Fortune 100 company for sure.
No, but like, again, it's what they left with, and they left with like going, wow, this wasn't my typical conference. This wasn't our typical sales kickoff.
So for a group of people, me included, I don't get super excited about the idea of going to a conference. I think because they're all kind of lame. Visually they're lame. Like in terms of energy level, they're kind of lame. There's not a lot to do. Like you're listening to a lot of presenters. You're saying that you can essentially take the same content, but deliver it in a way that's very compelling, that'll hold my interest.
Well, if you've got a national based company that's all assembling down into, like, let's just say a warm part of the area, right? So
something
it's February,
tropical,
they're going to Florida, they're going to, Corpus Christi, they're going down there, right? Miami, whatever. And they go down there and they have this hotel. They're all going to be excited because they get to go there. Okay. So they're excited.
Yeah, there's no snow on the ground.
They're excited because they get to see a lot of their colleagues that they don't get to see across the country very often. So they all get to fly in and see each other and hang out. It's a great chance to not just do, it's team meetings. It's, your reviews. It's other things that can happen there that you typically don't get to have, or you're doing over, a conference call or a Zoom call or so forth. So when you bring them there, like, you've got to keep that energy going. And so we all know, like, okay, you got a general session, pump you up kind of deal. And then you go and you got your, breakouts, and then you have your networking events at night, and that's great. But like, you've got to change the game a little bit. You've got to do some really cool things to say, wow, that's really nice. Whether it's live music, whether it's, LED walls, whether it's activities, whether it's different ways to utilize those activities to do networking and team events. And so this last week was an amazing example of that. We'll have more to share about that eventually. But I think that number one, you asked about some things. Number one, I think changing the experience and making a more immersive environment, an immersive experience for the attendees to be there is and not being just the generic cookie cutter
T-screen. Yeah.
Two, I think the relationship with the client. And I know that every sales guy will say it's all about the relationship, but I'm serious when I say this client is like, they are my friends at the same time. And so if something happens in my life, we've sent gifts to each other to say, hey, I'm sorry about this in your family, whatever.
Right.
And so it's been an amazing relationship with all of them. And third, here's the big difference. The team that I have to put on this event is not only just around the country, but we all know each other's personal side, our families. We all get together. And I can tell you that after this event, period, I've never seen a production team walk around and literally high five and hug each other. And like, we celebrated such an amazing moment that we made it through. And it was just as important for us to deliver an amazing conference for everybody.
Right.
that it was just for them to attend.
And to be clear, that's pretty atypical. Most events, a lot of people, some are coming from different parts of the country. They get together, they do the show, and then everybody kind of like goes home to their hotel room, and that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, your team packs everything up, they ship it out, we ship our stuff, and then we'll see each other next year. And it might not be the same team, but in this case, this team is a rock star team, and I feel that we could potentially put on any sales event, any corporate event like that. Huge conference in the country.
So give me some examples of, and I agree. I think the team is fantastic. What would you say? What is an example, or give me an example, maybe even from this show last week, where the difference between a great team and an amazing team? What are the kind of things that a world-class team like what we have? Compare them to even a really solid production team. Yeah. What are the kind of things that enables a client to do? Can I'm guessing like make changes nobody likes last minute changes, but if I have a really compelling need to make a change last minute.
You're putting on an event, Matt. There's always last minute changes.
There you go.
You have to expect it, and I think we expect the fact that there are going to be changes all the way up to the last second. And we've gotten presentations come in, or somebody couldn't fly in and we make a change. For example, we did this amazing awards show, and even though we went through the run of show with them specifically, he accidentally skipped the next award presenter and went somebody else. So immediately, because we're all in communication, we're all talking, we've all got our headsets on, we know what's happening, we were able to skip through and get to the next set of slides, and then
nobody
come back.
Knew the difference. Yeah,
nobody knows the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think being able to yes, I hire an amazing producer. It's his show, but I get all of them together. Right? This is our team. I never had to tell anybody to work harder. Not one person did I say, go treat the client like this. Every one of them I trust with the client. The client at the end said that we love every single person. They met 3 new people this year, and they said, we love all 3 of them. We love all the new people. This team is what we want back. 100%. And so I think that I never have to tell them to work hard. I don't have to say, hey, listen, stay up late. We've got to get this done. I trust them all to get their job done. And then, we all communicate. And when the pressure hits and there's something wrong, we don't panic, and it was amazing. Right. And this is, we've done, many conferences together.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned, teams.
Not to mention a great photographer and a great videographer all week. It was great to boss you around. Thanks. Just want to point that out.
Just because one has a camera, that does not make them a photographer.
You bring a camera.
Watch out.
I can ask.
Okay, so let's touch on something you mentioned earlier. So the idea, obviously, this event that you've been talking about was an in-person event. And you said it's an opportunity for teams to get together. And I know, in a post-COVID world, there are a lot of teams that are working semi-remote or entirely remote that maybe didn't before the pandemic. Yeah. So it would seem like, in one sense, you've got people who aren't able to be together in the office. So these conferences or kickoff meetings, whatever, offer an opportunity for them to get together. But at the same time, it seems like there are other situations where there's a need to do an event that's both in person and digital, in the same way that
of course
we do in person. Like we might do a meeting and the 3 of us, 3 or 4 of us are in a room and we've got some other people on Zoom. So is that something that's happening in event world? And what does event world look like post COVID? Is it exclusively in person now? Is it a combination of both? Like, how do you handle that?
Well, it's a great question. So what's interesting is that you're right. Post-COVID, everybody still wants to get together. Everybody's hanging out. I mean, if you go to the airport, they're all flying, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's going everywhere. So it hasn't stopped us. And so I do think, though, there are individuals that want to attend the event that don't feel comfortable, and that's their right. Sure. I mean, I'm not against that. I don't, you've got to deal with this how you want to deal with it.
Sure. Or even now, I mean, just a calendar conflict could be enough to.
That's right. And so this client, like, for example, they had an announcement, a big announcement on brand changes and things like that they wanted to really look at. And so they want to announce that. So they wanted a portion of their general session, about 6 hours, with a break, obviously, to be live streamed to their entire company. So
this event was for a portion of the company, and it was in person.
Yep.
And then there was also a stream of that to the entire organization.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we have we have the whole in-house going on, audience, everybody there.
It's a normal in-person
event. Normal event, but then we have 3 cameras. This event we did. Mm-hmm. We had a center shot, a left house left shot, and then we had a roaming camera shot. And all those shots were not only able to be seen during the live stream, but we're also able to see it on our LED wall for our backstage.
So you're using the same gear to make the in-room experience.
Same gear.
And then also taking that and leveraging it.
That's correct.
So from the client's perspective, I'm guessing that it wasn't like they had to buy 2 video systems worth of equipment.
No, we just had a different setup. There's some setup in the background. So we custom built their microsite. We custom built, it was all coded password so that, they sent the password out that
That's
morning.
how the offsite people saw them.
Yep. They were able to come in. They went straight through the stream. We provided streaming codes, streaming keys, things like that, all to our person that did, built the site and was handling that here, by the way, on the back end. And so we had constant communication going on with that. So we streamed the whole event that way for 6 hours, and then we recorded it as well, so we can provide feedback in the general sessions, things like that. So we'll come back, do a lot of post-production editing, bookend every presentation, and then we'll deliver that back to the client.
So with the same capture that happened live, you're able to deliver those assets to the client. Absolutely. They can use those for content.
Yeah, and then here's what's interesting to tell you the pressure, right? All of a sudden, they have 2 on their panel. They have a couple of clients that couldn't make it, but they still want to be there. So we were able to, if I can explain this nicely, we were able to take 2 clients, put them in a Zoom call, show the Zoom on the left side of the stage on the LED wall, show the local in the right side of the wall, still all live streaming. Offsite live stream, all of it.
And could everybody interact with each other?
And have everybody on the stage interact with the people that are on the Zoom call from the stage. Cool. So you got basically 3 audiences. You're trying to cater to the inside. Then you're trying to cater to the Zoom, which you've got crossing. You never... we
don't want to cross the streams.
Don't want to cross the streams, right? From Ghostbusters. And so we've got that going on.
So you didn't cross the streams, but you had people who weren't in the room participating in a panel.
That's right.
People who were in the room participating in a panel.
That's exactly right.
And people in the room watching all that happen, and people.
Right.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think that it was a really cool experience, and we were able to pull that out. We pulled it off a little bit last year in a really quick fashion. This year we had some time to really plan it out, and it was pretty awesome to be able to sit up there and have them interview them right on the screen.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
so
I think that gives us some good insight into the evolving world of SPRK events.
Yeah, I'm excited about just the amazing opportunity we have to really take these corporate, and it's not just corporate, but take these type of events and put them to another level to just create this experiential platform for attendees.
Sounds exciting.
It is. Trust me.
Cool, dude.
It's going to be awesome.
All right.
Hey, thanks again for inviting me to something I didn't know I was going to be at. I hope you have an amazing day.
Next time I'll use Google Calendar.
Hey, next time, use Gmail.